Jai Mukti Sarnavara Girivaja Nidana Jai Mukti Sarnavara Girivaja Shantanana Gajana Yasuna Gajana Yashodananda Bhajajanandana Yashodananda Bhajajanandana Yamunadira Vanachari Yamunadira Vanachari Vanachari Brahma Brahma Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone, online and in person. Krishna Surya, thank you for being here. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading from the cell phone, the smartphone. Canto 7, Chapter 12, Text 8. Kesha Prasadanam Varda Snapana Vyanjanadikam Guru Sri Bhayurvati Bihi Harayanatmano Yuva Kesha Prasadanam Marda Snapana Vyanjanadikam Guru Sri Bhayurvati Bihi Karayanatmano Yuva Kesha Prasadanam Marda Snapana Vyanjanadikam Guru Sri Bhayurvati Bihi Karayanatmano Yuva. Synonyms: Kesha Prasadana, brushing the hair. Unmarda, massaging the body. Snapana, bathing. Abhyanjana Adikam, massaging the body with oil and soap. Guru Sri Bihi, by the wife of the spiritual master. Yuvati Bihi, very young. Karyat, should allow to do. Na, never. Atmana, for personal service. Yuva, if the student is a young man. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. If the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. Purport. The relationship between the student or disciple and the wife of the spiritual master or teacher is like that between son and mother. A mother sometimes cares for her son by combing his hair, massaging his body with oil, or bathing him. Similarly, the wife of the teacher is also a mother, Guru Patni, and therefore she may also care for the disciple in a motherly way. If the wife of the teacher is a young woman, however, a young brahmachari should not allow such a mother to touch him. This is strictly prohibited. There are 7 kinds of mothers. Atmamata Guru Patni, Brahmani Rajapatnika, Denordantri Tata Prithvi, Saptaita Matara Smritaha. These mothers are the original mother, the wife of the teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a brahmana, the king's wife, the cow, the nurse, and the earth.
Unnecessary association with women, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter, is strictly prohibited. This is human civilization. A civilization that allows men to mix unrestrictedly with women is an animal civilization. In Kali Yuga, people are extremely liberal, but mixing with women and talking with them as equals actually constitutes an uncivilized way of life. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshununmittam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna. So today I thought to talk a little bit about mothering, since this purport mentions how there are 7 original mothers, and having just become a mother myself, I think it's very natural for me to talk about this. And we were actually sharing back on Mother's Day at the outreach center that we have in Los Angeles. I was sharing about these 7 types of mothers and how they can benefit us when we honor our mother, when we give respect and honor, grace towards the feminine. And it's really interesting because I was just reading the other night in His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami's book. It's the leadership, no, leadership for an age of higher consciousness. So he was talking about how everybody actually has masculine and feminine qualities. So often we refer to the left brain as the masculine and the right brain as the feminine. And he was saying right here, which is, I think, very interesting, that in this world, Mother Earth is suffering greatly because of an imbalance of the masculine and feminine. Largely, everyone is leaning towards the masculine because it's what gets stuff done, it produces results, it's very tangible, it's physical, it's a force that you can push with in the material world. It's physics, it's like you can see it and get stuff done, and it's it's necessary, it's effective. Everybody has this side of the brain. But unfortunately, there's an imbalance in the world. It says, let me read it. This planet, the loving mother of all physical life, is in pain, suffering from an overdose of misused masculine energy. She needs a massive injection of feminine energy in order to regain her balance and prevent human beings from destroying her and themselves in the process. One might wonder, since the planet needs more feminine energy, why women cannot give it to her. Indeed, they can, and they are doing so. However, even if all the women on this planet used their entire right brains, and they have been doing a fantastic job for centuries, especially under oppressive circumstances, the result would still be insufficient. The reason is simple. Women only control 50% of the feminine energy on the planet because they only possess 50% of the right brains. Men have the other 50%. Therefore, men as well as women need to become more aware of this reality so that they can participate in rebalancing the energy on Earth before it is too late. So he lists the left brain and right brain. I'll just read them from here. So the left brain, the masculine side, is the conscious mind. It's aggressive or assertive. It's logical and analytical. It's intellectual, mental, objective, giving, will, force, knowledge, voluntary systems, separate or individualized, the sun or the yang energy. And the right brain, the feminine side, is the subconscious mind. It's passive or receptive. It's emotional and sensitive. It's intuitive, psychic, subjective, receiving, creation, power, wisdom, involuntary systems, inclusive, unifying. It's the moon energy and it's the yin energy. So when we read these two lists, it's clear that the right side are generally topics people would interpret as woo-woo is a common phrase they use these days. That's very woo-woo, perhaps a little new age. It's hard to say if it's true or not, if it's real or not, when we talk about intuition or psychic abilities. But so much of that, because it's the subconscious mind, it's the things that can't be seen, but it's still there. And another thing Maharaj was saying in this book, the chapter previous, is like everything is energy. So even thoughts and feelings and emotions are energy. They're vibrating at a faster rate, so we cannot actually see it physically. But still, it's a tangible thing. So it's so important the way that we think, the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we are aware of our emotions. And so that even inside the right brain, if we access that more, we can have more power, because that's one of the qualities on the right side. More power, and it's because we have a deeper understanding of those those systems which are governing our physical reality, because nothing happens in the physical world without it first happening in the mental world. Like, for example, if I want to have pancakes for breakfast, it first starts as a subtle desire or thought or emotion or feeling, whatever one of the ones it is. But it first begins in the subtle realm, and then because of that, it can begin to manifest in the physical realm. I can ask my husband to make me pancakes for breakfast, or I can make them myself. So, like that, I think understanding and knowing more about the right side of our brains helps us to understand more about what's going on in our physical reality. And so that's the strength of the mother as well, is that she upholds that. She gives that wisdom, and she gives that nurturing nature, that ability to hold space for all of the subtle things that we can't see, but we are all dealing with, because we are all in these human bodies and we all have mind, feelings, and emotions. So in Krishna consciousness, I think it's a beautiful process, because we get to not only deal with ourselves from the bottom up, so understanding our, first of all, controlling the senses, beginning with the four regulative principles, and living a certain lifestyle, eating a certain way, getting up at trying to get up early in the morning, if that's something you can do. Not always possible as a mother, I can tell you. Some light nights are so uh, late, but that's okay. It's just a season of life. So we begin with controlling the senses, and then we learn how to control our mind. That's a big thing, understanding our mind and trying to outsmart mind. Sometimes you just have to distract the mind, or give it a cookie or give it something else. Sometimes controlling it by brute force is not always the best way, just like that analogy is given in the Bhagavatam. When you pull the reins really tight on those wild horses, yeah, for a while they're going to slacken, but after some time then they're going to pull away. Just like my little girl, she's 10 months old, and she's now starting to crawl and explore the world. She's learning how to stand, and soon I can feel she's going to start like walking along the edge of the bed and start to try and take her first steps. So she wants that freedom. She wants to move around and like explore the world. And the more that I try to hold her back, the more she pushes out of my arms, and it's actually dangerous, because if I'm holding her and she's aggressively trying to get out of my grip, then she could fall, she could really hurt herself. So better to just give her a safe space to be free in, and let her explore. So sometimes it's like that with our own mind, and things that are going on with us. We give ourselves a safe space to have some freedom in, to do some service, and to do things that nourish us, but are safe within the safe guidelines of our mentorship of Krishna consciousness. And then we have that ability to explore and not kick back on the reins on the self. So we control the senses, we learn how to control the mind, and then we nourish the intelligence with Shastra. We always hear that reading Bhagavatam is, Maharaj was saying the other day in class that reading Bhagavatam is the easiest way to be directly in contact with Krishna. So we have kirtan and sankirtan and chanting the holy name, chanting together in kirtan and reading the Shastra. These are all top-down ways of purifying the self. So they come directly from the spiritual world. When we hear Shastra, when we hear Krishna Katha, when we hear the holy name, chanting, japa, these are all top-down ways of purifying the self. And then there's the bottom-up ways. So we are controlling our senses, controlling our mind. That's yoga. And so we are doing both in Krishna consciousness. We are getting the top-down, and we're doing the bottom-up too through our lifestyle and our training and our principles. So eventually, one day, we'll just be able to wash away all of the falsities and realize that we are not of this material world. We are the spirit soul, and we have our relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world. So that's the goal. And the beautiful thing about what Prabhupada has given us, Prabhupada is so merciful. He's given us this amazing package of top-down, bottom-up Krishna consciousness, purifying ourselves. And we get that high taste. Like, you can't get that anywhere else. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we are also fortunate here that we're in Krishna consciousness and we get that higher taste straight from the spiritual world. It's just crazy to even think about it. Like, and I'm sure we've all had those experiences where you're in kirtan or you're tasting some prasad or you're reading the Bhagavatam and you're just like, this is crazy. Like, this is the best thing ever. This is so satisfying to myself. I don't need anything else. And we remember those moments. So Maharaj was saying the other day in class, like, happiness is not measured by, what is it, the you think about the memory that it leaves behind or something like that. Material happiness anyway. But with these spiritual experiences and spiritual happiness, we can really relish those memories. We can keep them really close to our hearts so that we can cherish them. And when we are going through difficult times, and much of life is actually very difficult, really. So much of life is quite hard, actually. And just the day-to-day grind of life, just sometimes getting through your rounds as a mother. Just doing my rounds sometimes. I'm up late at night, like last night I finished at 11 p.m. Then I read this verse so that I could give class today. So I did want to give class. So it's just like that, it's hard. And then there are times when life seems easy for a bit. And it's like, okay, now I can like maybe read a little more or like go deeper in the Shastra or like do some more things that are nourishing to me. And sometimes you're just doing the basics just to keep yourself afloat. But that's such as life in this material world. And I have a friend who's really good with astrology. So he's always telling me like, oh, right now is certain planetary shift. So Saturn is very like whatever. I don't speak the astrology language, but it's definitely true. We're tiny spirit souls in the material world, and we're so influenced by what is going on around us and what's out in our environment. And we're affected by the planets. We're affected by the weather. We're affected by the emotions and feelings of other people. We're affected by our environments. We so much can actually absorb all of that sometimes, even, especially if you're more on the sensitive, like the feminine side. I know living in a woman's ashram with between 10 to 15 other females for many years, I know we all became so, I mean, females are naturally very sensitive, but you become very in tune with one another, and can almost be disturbing at times. That you almost know what's going on with another person. So if your roommate is having a hard time and mental, it's almost sometimes hard not to feel those emotions and be also affected by that. Uh, but there are ways to learn how to not to take on other people's thoughts and feelings and emotions. But the point is that we are naturally going to be so disturbed and affected by what's happening in our environments. And then when we go through acute suffering, we get so self-absorbed that we completely lose perspective of the bigger picture. Just like as this retreat was beginning, I got really sick. I got something that's called mastitis. You get an infection in your breast. So I got a fever and I was getting chills and night sweats and body pains and a migraine. And I was thinking, this sucks. The retreat is just beginning and I'm getting sick. And I didn't want to get this kind of sickness. I've had it before. And I thought, like, I'm really clean with my diet. I try not to eat the foods that I know would like affect me to that point. But as we were traveling, my immunity got low because I just didn't get enough sleep. So I got sick. And then when you get sick, it's amazing how you can just lose all perspective of the world and become so self-absorbed. So just looking at your own problems and thinking, it's so terrible that I'm suffering so much. And you forget that everybody else is also suffering. Everybody has a cross to bear throughout their lives and so many other different difficult things to carry in life. And we are supposed to be here to support one another through those things. But we can become so self-absorbed when we suffer that we forget to look out. We just end up looking in. And that just makes us even more miserable. So coming out of that sickness, I actually I had a dream when I had a nightmare, and it was a good nightmare. Most people say like when I had a nightmare, oh, that was awful, but I actually am grateful for that nightmare because it put everything in perspective for me because I had a dream that I was involved in a mass shooting. And we hear about these things happening in America all the time, like a gunman enters a school and shoots children. And it's just like, you can't even believe that's real. It gives you so much fear, especially as a mother, like you don't want to even go out into the world or put your children out into the world because there are people like that in the world. Such people are suffering so intensely. The only way they know what to do with themselves is to kill another being. So much suffering. So I had a dream that I was involved in a situation like that, um, potentially going to be a victim of that. And when I woke up, thankfully, I was like, thank goodness that was just a dream. But it just put my whole world in perspective because I thought, thank goodness I never had to experience that in my life. Thank goodness I was never the parent or a child involved in such a situation. These things happen in the world. I'm complaining about a minor illness and these things are happening and people are going through this. And so it made me reflect how just our own suffering, even a small cut or a wound, can bring us so back into ourselves. And we really do so much better when we're able to look out into the world and see how we can be of service to others and to the movement. And that is best done when we are also aligned with ourselves, when we are in touch with our masculine and our feminine sides, and we are nourishing ourselves and we are on a good program of Krishna consciousness, one that nourishes us, one that makes us feel enlivened, one that excites us, one that makes us want to get up out of bed and we want to do service and we want to be of service. And so I think it's really important that every devotee finds that in their life, something that really excites you, that also challenges you, but that excites you, that motivates you to keep going and to keep pushing forward and to move through difficult situations. Because when life gets difficult and tough, we can kind of get stuck in the mud. And sometimes being stuck gives us a sense of control. I was actually realizing this about myself. I can be really stubborn sometimes. I just was really stubborn about this one thing. Like, I don't want to change. Other people should change before I change. If anyone's ever experienced that. And what I realized about that after I really prayed on it and I really tried to release and understand my emotions about it and just prayed to Krishna for the strength to be able to release that stubbornness and actually realize I'm only in control of myself. If I want to change a situation, I can fully change it by changing myself. So I just did a little meditation and prayer, and I realized the next day that stubbornness gives us a false sense of control. To stay stuck means that other people have to move around us where we are stuck. It's like, I'm not changing. I'm going to stay the same, the way that I am right now. And therefore, you have to orient yourself around me the way that I am. And it's a false, illusory concept of being the ultimate controller because we are just trying to have some minuscule amount of control in life. So it's very foolish, it's very embarrassing, and it's very illusory. It's not real control. We're just standing in our own way and we're stuck and we're not helping anyone else either. So surrendering, letting go of that needing to feel like we're controlling, surrendering to Krishna, trusting Krishna, and trusting that Krishna can help us through any situation. And so foolish, we think like if we let go, if I surrender, like I don't know what will happen. Of course, we don't know what will happen. We don't know what's going to happen in the next moment. But we can trust that Krishna is such an amazing person, such a loving person, such a person who comes to give love of God to the world, to this crazy world, to this world that is so messed up. There's shootings going on and abuse and such horrible things going on in the world. And Lord Chaitanya comes to give the highest love of Godhead to us. So what a merciful, amazing person Krishna must be. So why do we not want to surrender to such a person? So amazing and kind person. He can transform our lives like that and just make our lives so amazing. I'm speaking this so much for myself, really. So Krishna is so kind, he's come as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give the highest love of Godhead. And we have a chance to taste that in Krishna consciousness. So I think it's really important, this top-down and bottom-up approach that we have is like remembering we have to nourish ourselves spiritually through the holy name and through chanting and through hearing the Shastra, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And then also remembering we have the bottom-up approach, putting ourselves in, not pulling the reins so tight, but putting ourselves in an environment where we have the freedom to explore and to serve, while also it's going to keep our mind and senses in a nice, regulated environment that's healthy for them. It's not pulling too tight nor pulling too loose. And it's nice to take guidance on that, how we can situate ourselves like that. And then having a service that challenges us and excites us, to makes us want to jump out of bed every day and just become a better version of ourselves, to show up to the world and to keep walking forward in Krishna consciousness. And for me, becoming a mother has been one of those services for sure, very, very deeply motivating me to move through so much stuff internally, because I can only teach her what I already know and what I've already become or embodied myself. Naturally, we just want the best for our children. It's imperative, it's part of the program. Like, how could we not want the absolute best for them? So that means I have to give the best to myself, and I have to be the best version of myself, and I have to do all that work to show up and give her the best and be the best mother that I can for her. Because, yeah, you cannot teach what you don't already embody yourself. So that's been my personal realization and becoming a mother, and something that is deeply motivating for me and has helped me move through many things in Krishna consciousness. But let's go back to the verse just to round it up. So Atma Mata Guru Padmi Brahmani Raja Padmika Devadatri Tata Prithvi Saptaita Rajarasritaha. These mothers are the original mother, the wife of the teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a brahmana, the king's wife, the cow, the nurse, and I think it's really nice to also remember, for ladies especially, that females play a very, very important role in this universe. And the way that society is pushing us, it's almost like to abandon those natural inherent abilities and powers that mothers or women naturally have. So reading the Shastra, you get reminded how powerful women can be and how much their presence affects the lives of their children or those that are influence of the husband. So the feminine is very, very important role in the universe, the mothers of the universe. And in Gita Nagari, it's so nice because it's very motherly place. You have the cows, and you have so many beautiful mothers in the community here. Like, I love to see that so many amazing women here in the kirtan. And I know from Madhupandila, my friend, that she takes so much guidance from many of the women in this community. So it's a very special place. So yes, I'll stop here. Any questions in the temple room or online? I don't know how we do this. Do we look at the chat?
Yeah.
I think this is just
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a question.
all right.
Now I'll get closer to the mic so they can hear me. Yeah, thank you for the class. Super insightful to just hear about practical applications of masculine and feminine energy, something we have to deal with all the time. I was wondering if you had any like tips on how to train the muscle of the feminine energy, because it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like the men of our society also need to train this feminine energy a little bit.
Mm.
So yeah, I was wondering if you just had any tips on, it sounds like it is a muscle, something you have to practice and take to the gym and like actually work on it. Yeah, if you had any tips on
Yeah,
how to do it.
I can just share what I've observed because I do work with people and do work with people's minds and emotions, and I think that's something it's funny, we all have to study physics when we're at high school, the laws of like the physical nature, and that just never made sense to me. But if you had a class in psychics, I think that would have been much more appealing to me. So, but with the feminine side, and just Krishna Sir is asking this how to, not necessarily for men, but maybe for men, how to tap in more into the feminine side and just to become more aware of it. Because as Maharaj was saying in his book, it's the subconscious mind. So it's the involuntary systems. It's the things that happen without us realizing, conditioning and things like that. And it's really just, it's about becoming aware of it. And so sometimes in society, for men and women, talking about our emotions and those subconscious things is filled with a lot of fear for whatever reasons, whatever environment we grow up in or family, whatever it is. It just is that way. And so for some reason, and it's not our fault, we just push it down. And then that becomes a pattern because that's one of those involuntary systems on when the emotions are coming up, the uncomfortable ones, the negative ones. And it's also very human to move away from anything that's painful. So if we have painful emotions that come up, everybody learns different ways how to move away from that. So noticing what we do, what our patterns are, how we do that. And instead of pushing it down, letting it come up and addressing it. And there's so many ways to do that. Some people want to talk to a mentor, some people do therapy, counseling, you know, body work, somatic work, breath work. There are so many avenues to transmute that energy, to change it, to bring it up. But first of all, you have to allow it to come up, and instead of pushing it down. And then to have it come up, we also need to be in a safe space, have a regulated nervous system, and remind ourselves, or even parent ourselves, that it's okay to let these things come up and it will be healthy and beneficial to let them come up. So it does take some introspection and a safe space to do it in, environment or a person to talk it out with. But it's really just about, instead of that involuntary pushing it down, just letting it come up. And I think just by doing that, we all become so much more aware of our internal world. Is that helpful? Thank you for the question. All right. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Itnani Vedam ki jai. All these devotees ki jai.